Hey, hi, how are you? We want to trust that you have been well. And
Hello.
this is good. Thank you so much. Nice to meet and even to have this episode that we are going to talk about. And this is the episode for how to have a loving and enjoyable marriage. And this time round, we have guests in our show. And we want to say thank you to Lenze and Fiona being with us. We are going to know them better, and they are going to talk about having a loving and enjoyable marriage. And we want to say this is going to be good. So we want to say thank you for all of you. May you continue to tune in.
Mr. and Mrs. Lenze and Fiona, we are so excited to have you. Thank you we remember seeing you on your wedding. Now it's been how many years?
It's been 3 years so far.
So are we ready for this? We're ready. So,
yes. That's good. So we are going to start by letting our guests introduce themselves. So we want to give them the opportunity whereby they are going to say who they are, where they come from, and what they do, and where they live. And we are going to give them the opportunity to do that. So thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
So my first name is Adam, and this is my wife Fiona, and we live in Shanghai, China. It's the third largest city in the world, and we're kindergarten teachers here. We help children who are aged between 2 and 6 years old to learn English. And that's what we do for a living. Fiona is originally from Kenya, and I'm originally from the United States. And do you want to talk a little bit about how we met?
Yeah, we met in Indiana.
That's
we were
right.
both doing our master's degrees, and your dad was my GA professor. And I just really just enjoyed how he was as a boss. I had never met such a caring boss that he was.
My dad.
Your dad, yes. and he said, my son is also going in the same program as you. And I was like, oh, that's great. I can't wait to meet your son later. yeah. And that's how we met. Just by like dad introducing us to each other, and then us finding ourselves in the classrooms, all the classrooms for master's degree, because it was only 6 people together for all the classes. And that's our story.
Yeah.
Classmates.
Yes.
Do you know that is something that is in common, because we were classmates too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We were together for 4 years, undergraduate, and somehow here we are. So that in the case in a classroom, you can get a spouse there.
Yes.
So those of you listening, watch out for those classmates.
Yes.
Your spouse is somewhere around in your class.
Yes.
You're right. So we want to ask you, how long have you been married, and and more than that, what attracted you guys to each other? We love hearing those love stories. So
We're coming up on our 4th year. We're going to start in on our 4th year on March 9th. It will be
What's the coming year?
the coming year.
Yeah.
It always trip me up. But so the thing that attracted me initially to Fiona was probably the same thing that most men are initially attracted to, which is, I saw she was beautiful. And then because you can't tell someone's character just by looking at them, but you can say, oh, she's beautiful. So that initial impression, my thought was, well, she's from a different culture than me, so I don't want to minimize that. I'm sure that there will be some sort of cultural differences that'll make it hard for us to, for anything romantic to come out of this. But we were both attending a secular university at the time. And so, Christian friends are a little hard to come by. And so I thought of Fiona as, this is a wonderful opportunity for me to have a nice Christian friend. Little did I know what I was getting into. So we got assigned to a group project together. Really, it was a pair project.
Yeah.
A couple project, if you will.
Yeah. Professor just showed up and said, whoever's sitting next to you is your project partner. And we were sitting together because that introduced by his dad, and we're like, oh, let's walk to class together. And then that's when the professor was like, oh yeah, whoever you're sitting with, that's your project partner. Yeah.
No work was getting done because she kept asking me questions. She would ask about, like, what do you think about God? What do you think about the Bible? And so we started having these long conversations when we're supposed to be doing homework. And so I was really attracted to that. I was like, this, some people, guys and girls, but maybe stereotypically girls, even if that stereotype isn't warranted, but a lot of girls, you try to talk to them about, theology or some complicated question related to the Bible, and they're kind of like, yeah. Let's talk about something else. Fiona, she was asking me, and I was like, whoa, wow, I could actually talk to this woman for the rest of my life about God, and she would actually be interested. And so that started the wheels turning in my head, so to speak.
Yeah, and for me, it was just how smart he was that first attracted me to him. Like he just knew answers to so many questions that, like, probably I didn't ask my Sunday school teacher, like where is, Jesus's, like, real godmother, like, does God has a wife, not Mary, Bible teacher, they just believe, it's faith, just believe. But like asking him these questions, like he was going deeper in theology and like explaining it in a way that I could understand. I was like, wow, this guy is really smart. Like he knows so many things. Yeah, so that was just like, okay, I like this guy.
Okay.
That's good. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Now, we want to ask you, what advice can you give young adults who are dating or who are planning to date?
So we've thought a lot about this, and we've decided we have like 7 big fat pieces of advice that we wanted to share.
Yes.
First, 7 are: number 1, keep it guilt-free. Number 2, define terms. Number 3, in or out. And number 4, clarify. 5, no soulmates. 6, date Christians. And then 7, you never know until you know. So we're going to talk about keeping it guilt-free.
Yeah, so keeping it guilt-free. What we say is, like, remember, dating has 0 privileges other than deep friendship. It's guilt-free, end it. So if you feel like you want to, like, hey, I no longer like you, I want to leave, don't feel like as if this is a divorce, like you're divorcing. There's no paper that you have to sign. So be guilt-free. If you feel like this person is not for you, it's okay. But then on the other hand, like, marriage has wonderful privileges. There's the physical and the spiritual intimacy, but it also has responsibilities. Like it's completely honesty, financial, spiritual, physical union for life. So like if you feel like this person, you cannot get into that with them, you cannot be completely honest with them, you cannot share your bank account with them, you cannot like be physically with them, like knowing that you will be able to be physically with them later on, then it's okay to say, okay, I don't want you in my life, I'm gonna move on. That's the advice we have for number 1.
And the other side of keeping it guilt-free is that before you are married, don't share your money, don't share your body, don't share anything. marriage has the protection of a lifelong promise and a lifelong commitment to keep everything safe inside it. And dating has no privileges, but it also has no responsibilities. And so the person can leave you at any time, and that'll really hurt the more you've shared. So keep it guilt-free is point number one.
Yeah, and then number two, define the terms early on. And for defining terms, this is about protecting your heart. Because if you define terms like, we are just dating right now, like we're not, as he said, we're not sharing our finances. This is just us getting to know and see if we're gonna be good couples, good spouses in the future. It's like window shopping. Do I like this dress or do I not want this dress? Am I committed enough to go inside and actually buy it? So like define the terms and see like how are we gonna use like the different ways of us hunting? Do you wanna like elaborate more on that?
So some people, when they say I'm dating, what they really mean is I want to hang out with you this evening and maybe we'll drink something and have fun. Other people, when they say I'm dating, what they mean is I'm spouse hunting. I'm investigating you to see if maybe I should spend the rest of my life with you. And it's just important for both people to understand, what does the other person mean when they say I'm dating? When I was dating Fiona, I was spouse hunting. And as soon as I realized that she might, like if I had ever realized, oh, she's not gonna be there for the rest of my life, I would have immediately ended it and tried to go back to the friendship part. But other people go on dates and it's just they're hanging out and it's just for fun. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when people misunderstand each other and think that one person intends one thing when they really intend the other. So it's just important to define terms. Just ask the other person, like, what do you mean when you say we're dating?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty clear. That's pretty clear. Thank you for clarifying that. So
yeah.
And that's actually one of the things I really liked about him. He wasn't just there to play with my heart. As soon as you realize, like he was actually asking me questions about what do you think about being complementary with the one another and what the Bible talks about that. And when he was like, when he knew he was ready to start like pursuing me as a potential spouse, he came out and said it. Hey, I really like you and I want to keep pursuing you and keep asking you questions in the end goal of wanting to marry you later on. And that made me realize, oh wow, this guy is actually ready for marriage, you know, like he's not just there with friends, we're gonna eat out at restaurants for the next 5 years of our lives. Like he's ready for a lifetime, and I really like that.
So that's
beautiful.
So that kind of brings us to number 3, which is we called it in or out. And so once you've defined terms and you know that I'm a person who's defining dating as spouse hunting, well then you sort of need to figure out, am I spouse hunting? Because you shouldn't spouse hunt if you don't want to get married. And in order to figure out, do you want to get married? You have to ask yourself, if you're a Christian, what would make you a more effective witness for Christ in this lifetime? Being somebody or not being out. The Apostle Paul writes, I think it's in Corinthians, that it's good for a man to remain as he is. But some, because this world is a really hard place to be, and frankly, just particularly for a lot of guys and gals, the libido is really high. That drive is so distracting that it would be a more effective witness for Christ if they could satisfy that desire in a safe place in marriage. And then for some people, that desire for physical intimacy just isn't strong enough that it would be a distraction if they were single. And for those people, Paul says that it's good for them to remain as they are so that they can have the flexibility to go all over the world and stay up all night talking to people about Jesus. So you just have to figure out, Am I in or am I out? Am I in the group that needs to get married in order to be effective, right? Or am I not? And then proceed forward from there.
Awesome. You guys are good communicators. I know you did communication. Keep going.
I really like that all these points just tie into one another, because like our point for number 4 is clarifying. Guys and girls, especially guys, they need to clarify first, because guys, they for girls it's just like, oh, we wait for the guy to like say, you know, what they're feeling first. We don't want to like voice our opinions and you know, just in case we're let down. So for guys, clarify things as soon as possible. As if you see that the relationship is going towards marriage, let the girl know why. And if it's not going towards marriage, just tell them, hey, this is a friendship that I like. Maybe we can continue to being friends, or we can no longer be friends if that's what you want. But like, imagine you're a detective trying to solve a mystery. Like Sherlock Holmes is so cool because he learns things quickly, like very, very quickly. And then don't waste time and emotional energy on people like who you aren't right for. As soon as you learn, quickly just tell them. Don't like wait too long. That's not good for anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. Wow.
So that brings us to point number 5, which is no soulmates. And so there's a movie that just came out called Tenet, which it was really fun. So I got this advice a little bit from there. So if God has a spouse picked out for you, then there's nothing you can do to get out of that plan, because God is all powerful, omniscient, and omnipresent. He's everywhere. So if God has a spouse picked out for you, then he picked that person for you before time even began. And so there's no way you can break his plan. So some people hear that truth and then they think, well, then I should just do nothing and just wait for God to do it.
Want to be.
But that truth is supposed to comfort you, not give you an excuse to do nothing. It's also true that God works through our actions to accomplish his will. And so if you do nothing, then we can be sure that God destined you before eternity began, that nothing romantic would happen with you. The only way something romantic is gonna happen is if you move. So if you figure out, I'm on marriage, I want a spouse in order to be an effective witness in this world, then get moving and get going. Don't wait around for a soulmate.
Wonderful. That's great.
And that leads us to point number 6, which is Christians, and this also credits so instead of looking for soulmate, look for spouses, future spouses among Christians. Yeah, and you look for them like for people who you're sexually attracted to. So like for Adam was like, wow, Fiona is so beautiful and she's also a Christian. Like, let me pursue her and try to see if this could be, you know, my future spouse. Not just like, oh, there is this idea of spouses. So instead of just like looking for the one and waiting for God to drop the one on you, go to Bible groups, Bible clubs, find wherever Christians are, go find them, and maybe you can find a friend there who probably someday in the future could be your spouse.
And remember, the only criteria that the New Testament gives for picking a spouse is, are they a Christian? And I think there's like a secondary criteria that's implied, which is you should probably, since the whole purpose of getting married is to satisfy your sexual desire, you should probably make it a person who you're attracted to.
That is true.
Christian, and who you find attractive. Then don't worry so much about like, start nitpicking and worrying about their little flaws and imperfections. Because the reality is that what you see are little flaws and imperfections are actually big flaws and imperfections, and secretly you have them too.
Yes.
And God's going to spend the rest of your lives fixing your flaws and imperfections and fixing his or her flaws and imperfections. So you should pick someone who, when you imagine them finished, when God's done with their lives, are you excited about meeting that person? Because when you get married, what you're doing is you're making a date 75 years in the future that I'm going to be your husband. I'm going to be your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so are you excited about going on that date? And so you don't know the answer. Yeah. You want to show up to that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
Wow.
So, you want to finish with the last one?
Yes. And then number 7, you never know until you know. And like, I feel like this is actually like mine. I've been coining this for a long time, because like my sister, like when I was still single, she would be like, Fiona, do you know who you're gonna get married to? I was like, I don't know. I know when I'm walking down the aisle. And even after Adam proposed to me, I was still like, I don't know if this is the person that I'll marry. It was until the point that Dad was actually like walking me down the aisle, and I was still like, I don't know if this is the guy. You never know, because like Jesus would have come back the next second. That's and I would have never got.
She could have been raptured 3 feet before she met me.
Yeah. So it was until the moment that our Pastor Webb said, you may kiss the bride, and pronounce his husband and wife. That's the guy.
This is the guy.
This is the guy to marry. So you just never know until you know in that moment after you've said I do. Yeah. So
amazing.
So if you never know, then how do you know? Because you got to know, So our answer to that question is that you just keep learning more and more and more about the person. And if it continues to be good news, and basically the news that, I am attracted to this person physically, and this person still, this is a Christian, and I still want to be with this person. As long as that answer stays yes, then eventually the day of your proposal will arrive and the day of your wedding will arrive. And just the answer with Fiona just kept on being yes. And just, it sounds coarse to say it this way, but one thing led to another.
Awesome.
Yeah, romance is like fire. It will continually grow and grow and grow until it's time for you guys to get married. And what we don't mean by that is that you keep growing in intimacy before you get married. What we mean is that when love exists, it creates the desire to take the next step, and so you will. And for after you say I want to date you, the next step is I want to marry you, and then the next step is okay, now we're married.
You know what? That's beautiful. I know somebody is curious out there asking, how long did you guys date? And then we're gonna end this part because we're gonna come to the second part where we're gonna talk. Now you're married, but please, before we finish this section, we want to know how long did you guys, date, and up to the time you got married. How long was that?
Okay, so we met and we're just studying our master's degree. That was August 2018.
Okay.
And then by October 27th of that year, 2018, we started making it official that we're dating.
So how many months?
So that was just like us just getting to know each other. Maybe 3 months of us knowing each other. And then 5 months, because 5 months of dating / engaged, 5 months. And then yes.
Wow. Thank you for not keeping her so long. I know sometimes it gets hard for ladies because they don't want to propose
Yeah.
and maybe the guy doesn't speak, it gets very frustrating for the ladies. So.
Yes, and also another thing, like some of my friends asked me, Fiona, it's only been 5 months. How do you truly know for sure? And I actually tell my friends and other people who asked me this question, it was that 5 months to us was like equivalent to 3 years, because we were in the same building. For a master's program, it's not where you just move from one building of a campus to another. All of us were in one building. I worked for his dad, and his office was across the hall. So when I'm going to the bathroom, I pass by his office like from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. I get to see him every day for those 5 months. So that was like 3 years for us. Some people who date for 2 years, they see each other during the weekends because they live different cities or something like that, you know? Us who were having lunch together and dinner together, and then we run to class, you know? So we got to know so much of each other during that time. To us, it was just like, what are we waiting for after these 5 months? We're just ready to get married.
Awesome!
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So we want to conclude this part.
So we want to say thank you so much. Those were wonderful tips for you that you are giving our audience. And we are going to look forward. This is part 1. We are going to go back to part 2. May the Lord bless you.
God bless you. It's possible to have a loving and enjoyable marriage.
Yes.
And in the second section, please tune in. We're going to talk about having affordable weddings. We're going to talk about the first 2-3 years of marriage. We're going to hear from, Adam and Fiona, Mr. and Mrs. And we're going to talk about how faith plays a role in our marriage. It's going to be exciting. Please tune in for second part. Thank you.